Hello, my name is Jeremy Melder, and I'm the presenter from Beaming Green. Before we start, I would like to acknowledge that this podcast is being held on the traditional lands of the Bundjalung people and pay our respects to elders both past, present and emerging. Welcome to Season 2 of Beaming Green, now available on YouTube or your favourite podcast platform. We offer an array of inspiring guests speaking about their life experiences on topics including sustainable living, environmental issues and human sustainability. So whether you're a seasoned eco-warrior or just starting your sustainability journey, Beaming Green has something for everyone. So join us for Season 2 and let's beam some green together. So welcome back, Stephen. How was your little break?
It was good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So we're doing episode 3 now, and
So I haven't got a costume change this time.
no costume change, makeup, nothing, mate. Just a glass of water, and we had a bit of a nice interlude, and connected to ourselves, connected to Earth, and paying some respect to our Aboriginal elders, past and present and emerging, and showing some gratitude, which is really important, isn't it?
Totally, if we can feel it.
Mm.
Yeah, it's really important for me.
Yeah. So, Stephen, I want to ask you a question. So, you've now got living a rich and purposeful life. What does that mean to you?
Good question. So for me, my agenda is to support us as campers to leave the world in a better shape than we arrived.
Mm-hmm.
And to do that, we need to come from a place of abundance.
Mm-hmm.
Come from a place of I would love rather than a place I must or have to, should to. And so when I then decompose that, because I'm analytical, I went, so what does that state look like? And that state, to, genericize it somewhat, is to live a life that is rich and purposeful and that is full of enrichment. A thriving life, but thriving is kind of like, it's an overused term, right? I mean, but to thrive, in essence, to come from a place of abundance and come from a place of connection. So, and that's really, once I, found out root cause of my, spectacular midlife crisis, I went towards the things that was going to be supporting me to make the most positive contribution. Because I have an innate belief that a sustainable future, a big element to that is that it's win-win.
Yeah.
So, and if there's 3 people at the table, you, me, and say Mother Nature, that we all can win in that exchange.
Yeah.
And I don't believe this notion of compromise. All relationships have to be compromised. All of our laws have to, there's an element of compromise, and and we have to kind of average things down so that, it's about statistics. I don't actually think that actually supports us to get to a sustainable world. I think it just, if we don't have win-win, then we're all getting something less than what we would love.
It's true.
So for me, living a rich and purposeful life is about win-win. I turn up as the best husband, as the best father, the best mate, the best son, the best community member that I possibly can be. And I feel good about that. I feel enriched by that process. It's not about drawing down my resources to do that. I do that because that's what I would love. And that supports me to be a better man. That's what it's about for me.
Thanks for answering that. Now, I also want to ask you, what are some of the common misconceptions about living a rich and purposeful life?
Well, I mean, the conspiracy theory, right? First, there's a lot of people in my orbit that they go on as if they really feel like they don't have the power to do that or the permission to do that, or they're not deserving of that. It's for somebody else, And I have friends, dear friends to me, that kind of accuse me that I have a great life because of my parents or because of my context or because I'm white and male and big and, you know, well educated and I got a good start in life and all that kind of stuff. And I go, yes, I do have all that. But my peer group that have got all that as well, it's a really variable. It's a really variable situation, and lots of them are desperately unhappy. And I look at those guys and I go, well, actually, you started with a better hamper than I did. So I understand that I am privileged. I recognise that. But that doesn't stop me from knowing that to raise my vibration, to improve my position, to live an abundant life, an enriched life, and to make a contribution, there's a lot of work that I need to be done, that needs to be done.
And I got to say, I'll pay homage to that because you do want to improve yourself. It doesn't matter where you started from, right? I think we all can, if you started below the water and you had no oxygen and you had to come up for oxygen and then start from where we all started from somewhere. And if we want to look at what we're aspiring for, and go through some of those speed bumps, because no doubt we'll all have speed bumps, then we'll get there. But yeah, we all have different starting places. So I think you've hit the nail on the head, So yes. So if someone will compare all of us, we'll all be compared, I compare, and I've done that as well. Probably done that with you as well. You had a good starting life, well educated, all those things, very good. I come from, Sri Lanka and third world country, suffering from, social issues and look, I'm grateful that I've come to Australia. It's given me opportunity. So I have, learnt where I started from and I've tried to progress myself in some way. And that's what you've done.
Well, and you have. And what I would say to that is don't make an excuse.
True.
If we want to evolve, then don't make an excuse.
It's almost like playing a bit of a victim, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's another great one, right? It's like, you're worthy, but I'm not worthy.
Yeah.
Or you got this, but I can't because of this. It's making an excuse. And my experience is that we are connected to the most enormous creative force. And this is sounding woo-woo, but it's my experience that there are many, many, many examples of people that start with nothing and have huge tragedy in their lives, and they achieve more, way more than their peer group. They achieve more than everybody. And these are the icons, right? And they aren't finding excuses not to, I say evolve, but to achieve what they would love. So for me, Larple is about providing some of the fundamentals that I would have liked to have learned in school. I had a good education. Wasn't a great education because I got out. I didn't work out that I actually was interested in learning until I left university. But the thing is that the people that achieve, and there's a whole question around success versus fulfillment that I would, maybe we get into now, but you're only giving me 20 minutes, so unlikely, viewers.
You've always gone over, but that's okay.
But for me, success is to be fulfilled, to be being successful as being fulfilled. And that can be right now, if I achieved to this point, then I'd be feeling fulfilled because I've thrown everything at it. I've done my best.
Yeah.
I take, feedback from other people, good, bad and ugly. Sometimes I react to that. Maybe most of the time. Who knows? But I do my best. So constructive feedback, destructive feedback, it's all feedback, and that gives me an ability to be able to have an objective view that's outside of my frame. And if there's an opportunity to improve an aspect, like I said, I'm an optimizer.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm an innate educator. So if I have a learning and experience, then I want to put that into a framework that can be then shared, because I lament the fact that we're such an evolved species, and yet everybody seems to have to learn this fundamental stuff by route for themselves, and it's not a very efficient way to go. And that might have been okay for past. The problem is that we're actually destroying the future of our species' potential to thrive in the process. And I have a problem with that. So that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. And hey, there's no compromise in that either, because I think I'm a better man as a function of that.
Yeah.
I think I'm a better friend. I think, but only you can tell me that. And my wife can tell me, am I a better husband than I was before? And am I a reasonable dad? And do I turn up at the rural fire service? Am I a good guy there, or am I, am I just bullshitting myself?
Yeah.
And I think we can bullshit ourselves, and objectivity is the antidote for that. But what's the excuse for excuses? If we excuse ourselves because of, I can't do that because of, that's really detrimental. So, yeah,
well, thanks for answering that, Steve.
There's a partial rant for you.
That was good. So I think you were talking this week about gratitude. And where do you think gratitude fits into living a rich and purposeful life? Because I think, I don't know, for me, I think gratitude has come into my sphere only in the last sort of 10 years, where I am actually looking at it and going, what am I really grateful for every day? And it does help to alleviate some of that burden by looking at things in a different light of gratitude.
So I'm a novice at gratitude. I did a Facebook Live about it on Tuesday. So I've kind of been skeptical about gratitude. It kind of sounded really woo-woo to me. I didn't really get it. So I'm probably not the best guy. You probably can talk chapter or verse about the value of gratitude, but I can give you my own personal experience. And once again, I take an analytical view, and I have a disposition towards depression, kind of black dog. My dad had it. I've got a bit of it. It's not necessarily bad, but it's something that I need to manage on an active basis. And I find gratitude is the antidote for that. And I really just learnt that in the most powerful way, where I went through a 3-minute process. I was feeling overwhelmed, and that kind of is the spiral for my, and it's not depression, it's not clinical depression. It's just a depressive cycle that can take a week or a day or 3 days or a month to work through. And in that process, I'm not turning up at my full potential. So therefore, I'm compromising my environment, myself, my relationships. I tend to get angrier quicker. I tend to get more frustrated more quickly. I tend to do shit that I, if I'm in a great frame, I don't do, or I do less of. I'm an optimizer. So what does gratitude do for me? Being grateful for the things, and it doesn't need to be like 1,000 things. It's like, what things am I grateful for, and to focus on those. And I started with my wife, and then I went to my kids, and then I went to my, my relationships, and that was almost enough. And I found that this depressive cycle got nipped in the bud, and then I was able to then move into a more functional state. And then from there, I was able to take, kind of uncomfortable action or courageous action, because gratitude helps a change of state, but without action, it's pretty invaluable. Because sitting in my head, because depression sits in my head and this notion of gratitude sits in my head, and if I just sit in my head and I don't take action, what for? So for me, taking purposeful action is the bit that needs to come next. And I'm constantly trying to, beat my head, right? Because my head doesn't always support me as best as I could. My frame of reference is not objective. I mean, I don't know how much comes from our subjective kind of, what's that word for the subconscious? The subconscious mind kind of rules the roost, right? I mean, there's, all these people they're talking about, and there's a lot of, psychology around this. Our view of the world is set by somebody who's less than 7 years old. So we're fighting, potentially, a battle, potentially a losing battle, with an orientation from a 7-year-old or a 6-year-old or a 5-year-old who was unloved or whatever, right? So for me, gratitude, I've just understood, helps me to be an antidote to some of that wiring. And like I said, I'm not a master at it, but I'm doing my best.
Well, thank you for being so honest about where you're at. I've got another question for you. Is that how can one cultivate a meaningful relationship to contribute to living a rich and purposeful life?
Well, get enriched. The work starts with you. Get enriched. And it's a bit like, you want to be a good husband, then be a good person to start with. Be happy with yourself, because you can't serve another on a sustainable basis without being prepared to serve yourself in equal measure. And I would urge you to serve yourself really well so that you have the capacity to serve others. And for me, so firstly, it's find enrichment for yourself, true enrichment. And then from that place, and that's not being self-serving or selfish. It's just honor yourself and find the things that float your boat, that puts, fuel in the tank. And then from there, resonate on the things that help you to be enriched in the first place, to identify purpose, and then find ways that your purpose can be applied to serve others. And if you can apply your purpose to serve others in a meaningful way, then that's good for them. And it's also good for you because you then become fulfilled. And fulfilled is it's a good thing to aspire for. And it's way better than going for success, which is very externally oriented. Fulfillment comes from within. So when you feel fulfilled, I don't know about you, but when you think of fulfilled, do you feel kind of full?
Absolutely.
And gratitude's in there, right?
Yeah.
Because you go, hey, I'm grateful because I did this thing that feels really good for me, and it's so good for the person that I just did it with.
Yeah.
We both won. It's win-win.
Yeah.
There's no compromise in that.
Yeah.
And I feel really fulfilled and incredibly grateful for you to give me this opportunity to share this in a way that could potentially serve another.
Yeah.
It's like,
it's really important, isn't it?
Let's just give this shit away, right?
Yeah. Look, I really like this. Well, no, let me just be honest. I've always, as you know, had a hard time of putting myself first, right?
Yeah, he's shit at it.
You remember the analogy of you go on a plane and they say, fasten your seatbelts, the oxygen mask for yourself first. Well, I was that guy that...
No, mate, you were putting the oxygen mask on for the entire cabin. And unfortunately, you died in the process.
So anyway, I'm a slow learner, so I'm learning about this whole thing about looking after myself. But I think there's a lot of people like me, that have just gone, I've been brought up in a certain way, and I think that is the way that you live your life, looking after others. And then you end up burnt out. And then, if you're like me, resentful that you've done all of this, but you don't know why you're resentful, right? But it's then coming back to yourself. And then when I came back to myself, it was like, if I look after myself, I get the oxygen mask first, it's only going to benefit all others around me. And look, if you can do this earlier than it's taken me, it would be great. for you, because it is really important. Looking after yourself is the number one thing that you need to do. And learning to love yourself is another important thing. And I think Stephen will echo this as well, would you not?
Totally.
Yeah.
And I mean, we all come pre-configured differently, right?
Mm.
So I think for me, it's different for everybody, right? So we're all unique beings, and the problem with a retreat or a course or a learning or a whatever, when somebody's telling you what the answer is, it's the answer for them, but it may not be the answer for you. But no question, everybody needs to look after themselves. Otherwise, they will at some point burn out, like you did, and things will manifest, like your rheumatoid arthritis manifested probably from that place, right? And that, for me, is like what happens when we aren't, listening to what's going on. And the messages I'm going to knock on the desk. The messages from wherever they come from, the universe or a cell's agenda or whatever, the knocking just gets stronger and stronger.
Yeah.
Till literally we are playing Russian roulette with everything that we hold near and dear, including our health. And depending on how far we let that go down, it may provide us with a lifelong limp or condition. But life's not over. It's like it's adding interesting texture to, frankly, perfection's not that great.
Yeah.
A scar here and a mole there and a receding hairline there.
Yes, I was worried about how I look. My God, I'm getting a bit bald here.
As much as we don't like that, it's like it goes to the character of who we are. So, and it's our ongoing lesson. It's like you've got your rheumatoid arthritis and there's a whole bunch of things that you do to respond to term it up as best as you possibly can. I recognize that. I've got my depression thing, right? And, it's helpful, really, because it's like a dial on a race car, right? You got all this instrumentation that's sitting there. If my depression goes like this, then I'm not in the optimal state. If I'm full of energy and I'm waking up literally early in the morning, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, I'm getting a download, feeling like I've got more energy and just, life is just singing, then all of my gauges are all sitting at, they're in the good to awesome to excellent. But when my depression starts going, something's gone wrong. Oh, shit, what's gone wrong? Go back to my circle of enrichment. What am I not doing, I'm not feeling grateful for what I've got. Shit, what have I got? I've got a lot. That's great. I've just celebrated 29 years with the most awesome woman on the planet. Doesn't mean that she doesn't have faults. Son, you have faults. Doesn't mean I don't have faults. Son, I've got faults. But are we together after 29 years? Yes. Am I grateful for that? Oh my God, I am so grateful for that. And I'm kind of grateful for the fact that we've just been through this really tough time together. Because now I just go, fuck, it's even better than it was. And it is even better. But it's like that challenge somehow makes this even better. And I can't tell you objectively whether or not my relationship with my wife is better now than it was before. I think it is. But it doesn't really matter because my frame is like, woohoo, party time, fulfilled. Yeah. All my gauges are right and it's just getting better. And I feel like so it's like we kind of, in this process, we need to trick our minds to keep it supporting us to be making progress going forward and raising our vibrations.
Thanks for sharing that. Now, I guess in terms of your course coming up or weekend, whatever you'd like to call it, the retreat, there's a bit of work involved, isn't there? What sort of, I wouldn't call it work, but what would you call it?
Well, firstly, you get way more than you put in. You get way more than you'd imagine. So, firstly, so it's 4 nights, 5 days, right? So if you choose to invest in yourself for five days, then you're going to get something out of that that's going to be extraordinary. So if you get nothing out of me, then you're going to get something really amazing.
Mm.
The second thing is that you're going to be doing that with other people that are doing that for themselves, but they're co-creating and they're collaborating with you. So that effect is like a multiplying effect. And I think we've all been in situations where we go to a place, maybe if it's for a conference, for work or whatever, and it's the water cooler conversation where we go, shit, that was just as valuable as what that rock star speaker was about. So that's the second factor. The third factor is that I have a curriculum that I know that will take you from a place where you don't want to be without the answers to a place where you know the answers, and you have an action plan. More than an action plan, you have a routine that's going to propel you to where you would love to be, and it's a continuous process of improvement. Don't need to touch me again. So there's that. That's Rockstar, and it's proven, and it's awesome. And it's going to evolve, and I'll find ways to share that evolution as well, because what do I lose? You know, it's all about making the campsite better than when we arrive. So I've got nothing to lose here. And if I can find a way to give this away, you know, I'm going to do that without, you know, in a way that also supports me. So,
sure.
So the next part of it is that you are going to be in the most stunning environment.
And I'd vouch for that. It's a beautiful place.
You know, www.gymea, G-Y-M-E-A, retreat, retreat.com.au. There's not a lot of compromise there, guys. I mean, it is stunning. Northern New South Wales, this ability to be able to immerse in gorgeous nature, you know, and then you're going to be nurtured. So you're going to have a whole bunch of downtime that is going to support you to journal or to talk or to sleep or whatever it is you need to integrate, because we're going to be integrating some big things, because big stuff's going to happen in this. And this part of the world is incredibly powerful. I don't know why. I think the mountain's got something to do with it. The mountain, Mount Warning, Wollumbin, is like an icon. The indigenous people of this land, they understand the significance of this mountain, and they come for ceremony and have come for ceremony for thousands of years, because they understand that it's a special part of the world. I don't know why it's a special part of the world, but it is a special part of the world. And the retreat centre lives in this fold, this very feminine, supportive fold of land that supports and holds you for the rock star energy, the amplifying energy that comes, I think, from the mountain. So the environment's like off the chops. And then we're going to give you sound therapy, breath meditation, movement medicine, yoga, writing exercises, intuitive exercises, meditative exercises to help us to access those our inner guides, our higher selves, our intuition, soul's energy, soul's agenda. Call it whatever you like, but it's that, in a sense, that gut feel. How do we connect to that? Because that's a reliable source of energy. That's a reliable source of information. It's the most reliable source of information. And we can all have access to it, but we're not taught how to do that in school. This is a science guy, physics guy, computer science guy. I know this beyond a shadow of a doubt. So we're going to be accessing that, but as we access that, we need a lot of downtime to be able to support our adrenals to kind of come back. So there's those activities. There's the walking in nature. There's swimming in the magnesium pool that's 20 meters long and 3 meters deep and is stunning. And you're going to have a session in the spa. So there's heat, and there's the cold, there's the steam room and the sauna, and you're going to get a 60-minute relaxation massage. So, it's layer upon layer upon layer. And there's no one key element in that. But it all starts with you saying, hey, I deserve this. I'm going to invest in myself. And if you just do that for 5 days, you get your money's worth. Do a personal retreat where you stay on track and, you don't get engaged in that.
Yeah.
Because that's, potentially the most valuable instrument that you can have in your hand, and it's potentially the most detrimental instrument that you can have in your hand. And it's about finding that dance, the balance. So that's what Larple is about. Larple is about providing you with the environment to find those questions, to find those answers that you are seeking, and to provide you with the most perfect environment to allow you to leapfrog into a state of thriving. And I've done everything in my power to do that, and I've also done it, at a price that's like
valuable.
Incredibly valuable, and it's like it's cheap compared to other experiences. And why? Well, partly that's because I've got a very strong sense that this thing is going to work beautifully in a group environment, and we're still testing some things here to make sure that they actually do fly. Now, will I raise the price in the future? I don't know. Maybe, possibly. I don't know. Will I find a more efficient and effective way to be able to share this wisdom with others? I'm looking for those avenues right now, but I need to crack some tough nuts. I need to make sure that this thing is industrial strength. And I've got a history of industrial strength things. That's where I started my career, with industrial strength things that are reliable and dependable. And it doesn't matter what you throw at them, they're going to work. And that, I believe, is what the framework is about. And then I've just encapsulated it in an environment that is just incredibly supportive. So, yeah.
I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there. Industrial strength, Mr. Stephen Armytage.
Mate, that's what I'm about.
That's what you're really about.
That's
isn't
what
it?
I am about.
And you've been striving for this for a long time, and I know that I can vouch for that as an observer of your life, a witness of your life, and a person that is coming from the right place in what you're wanting to achieve and what you're wanting to do and share with good people. So I would like to invite people to, take part in this beautiful journey that you can take part in on the 31st of May. It starts and concludes on what date is it? The
Sunday, June the 4th. So it starts on the Wednesday afternoon, and then it goes until the Sunday, like 10:30, 11 o'clock. Gives people to get there on time. Got to take the Wednesday off to get there, probably. And then you've got the Sunday to go home, and I want you to take the Monday off as well, so that you can integrate, get the most out of this. So it's the 31st of May to the 4th of June. And I would just say that this has been 14 years in the making, and I've pretty much thrown everything at that. So, yeah, it's industrial strength, and that for me is the key. And the measure will be, that people get the answers that they get more than the answers that they're seeking. And that's the experience that I've had with people that have gone, they've taken the journey with me before, and they kind of get to the midpoint and they go, oh wow, okay, I am completely satisfied. I'm like, yeah, that's great, but we're only halfway through.
As you know, I'm a very satisfied customer as well, so and I think my wife is too, so it's awesome. So Stephen, thank you so much for joining Beaming Green on this journey of sharing your journey, because it's a 3-part series that we've shared with our listeners. And don't forget, go to larple.com.au and register. And if you're looking for more information from Beaming Green, go to beaminggreen.com, and look forward to seeing you at next episode. Thanks again, Stephen Armytage. See ya.
Thanks, Jeremy. Really, really appreciate this opportunity to connect with you and to connect with your audience.
Thank you.